Welcome back to Game 3 between Facebook and Google. It is tied up 1-1 right now. I'm day 9. Let's jump in to game number 3. In the top right, we have Kodansha from Team Google. And also Kodansha, one of my favorite comic book publishing houses. But that is aside the point. Although you should go out and read comic books as much as possible. Kodansha from Team Google, when asked who's the best player on his team, he said that there would be no point in an intra-team competition because every game would end in a tie with the map mined out. That is a remarkable amount of consistency among his teammates. And in the bottom left, we have Ice Cream Boy, rumored to be the strongest player in all of Facebook. And in fact, people asked him how he got so good, and he says that it's all about mental fortitude. He goes hiking through snow-capped mountains barefoot, and if he incorrectly splits his drones at the start of a game, he'll skip a meal, and he'll do 10 push-ups every time he gets supply blocked. And if that were the case for me, my arms would fall off from exhaustion. We see Ice Cream Boy now starting to make some drones, sending out his Overlord. The map's going to be Zelnaga Caverns here in game number 3, one of my favorite maps. And oh, Kodansha, based upon this placement, I would strongly expect a 2 racks. You never plant a supply depot at that start awkward position unless you have more barracks incoming. And there's the first one. We're going to have to do a little bit of spotting to see if any gas geysers get thrown down. Oh, Kodansha wants to do the damage early on. Either that or he just happens to know that 2 racks is actually just a really solid opening all around. But I'm a commentator, man. Things get intense when I unleash the casting. Ice Cream Boy going for the very safe extractor pool opening. Going to deal with this 2 racks very well, and there it is. The 2 racks pressure from Kodansha rallying back into his main. Looks like he's waiting for some bit of information. We do see that in terms of the Kodansha camera, there's absolutely no movement out to the center of the map. Looks like he wants to have his first scouting SCV do that. We see Ice Cream Boy starting to get closer and closer, and when he does see that 2 racks, bum, ba-da-da. This is already a big bad sign for Ice Cream Boy. His drone doesn't want to go up. The pathfinding says, but there's no way to get up because mysteriously there's a wall off. This drone is actually clairvoyant, but didn't know it until now. And it looks like Ice Cream Boy has not yet started the Zergling speed. He needs 8 more minerals, 4 more, and there, boom, has enough gas to start the speed. Boom, starts at 4 late, and now pulling his drones off. We see the Queen incoming, and there's going to be more Zerglings en route. Needs to have a good, solid defense, and if you have super supreme micro, you can do enough damage. But it looks like Kodansha might be simply pulling back at this point. He doesn't want to overcommit to this sort of pressure. One Marine watering off, doing his own thing. Meanwhile, back in the main, Kodansha has pulled back. Starts 2 very fast refineries. Before he takes his expansion, almost always a 2 racks is followed up with an expansion, but keep in mind the 2 racks is good because it is flexible. You can already put a lot of pressure on the Zerg player. In this game, this expansion is very late. The Zerg felt pressure to get the speed, the Queen, the Zerglings before doing anything. Now Kodansha is in a relatively safe position. Let's see how he's going to follow it up. Unburrows the supply depot, and Ice Cream Boy going to get some good scouting going. Again, match is 1-1 right now, both Google and Facebook, at the exact same score. Kodansha from Team Google starting to mass up more and more Marines, and there is the command center going down. Still quite an early gas, could indicate that he wants to transition to faster drop play or get a lot of upgrades. We see Ice Cream Boy, oh my gosh, you know what happens when dairy isn't turned into ice cream? That's right, it's turned into cheese. He's going for the Baneling nest. He's going to be doing a huge bust early on. And look at the worker count. 17. And making Zerglings. 1 more drone en route. Ice Cream Boy wants to end this game hard and fast. Ice Cream Boy from Team Facebook does not want to let this game go long. We see the Zerglings starting to get rallied up. There's the faster factory. Will we see a faster tech lab from Kodansha? That would be a great way to exploit those gas. Exploitation, one of the great tools of a good player. We do see the tech lab now going down for Kodansha. Zerglings are pulling back. The Baneling nest is done. It looks like Ice Cream Boy may have abandoned his plans. As we can see, not many workers. 20 harvesters on duty for Ice Cream Boy, still mining a lot of gas. And no, he will be going in for the pressure. There's the tech lab for Kodansha. Can begin getting that stim upgrade. We see another barracks, a factory. With Tech Lab also being added, the command center is going down, and Ice Cream Boy, will he begin morphing those banelings? And there it is! We see 7 banelings en route right now, a whole slew of zerglings en route too. Larva has just popped off these hatcheries, but Ice Cream Boy is having trouble with the cash flow. Uh-oh. Looks like the Marines are popping down, and they are going to be in for an unpleasant surprise. Uh-oh, pulling back. Oh, Ice Cream Boy could have taken advantage and killed a ton of Marines, but now it looks like the Google Terran Kodansha is going to make the same mistake twice. No, he will be pulling back, narrowly escaping the grasp of his own overeager Marines, but the Facebook Zerg making yet more banelings, because if at first you don't succeed, build more frickin' banelings. That could easily knock down the wall of the Google Terran. Facebook Zerg Ice Cream Boy starting to gather his forces together. Going to make a little poke just to make sure. Yup, still walled in. He's going to begin moving forward with those banelings. Doesn't want to overproduce banelings. Still wants to have those zerglings to sweep in once that supply depot has fallen. And here they begin moving in. Kodansha's going to need to do some good control. He needs to pull back those Marines. And yeah, great spread there by Kodansha. Sends some Marines to the front, but still takes some massive damage. The tank at the front also absorbing some big hits. And it looks like Kodansha barely survives. But uh-oh, a couple more zerglings roll right on in. And he barely gets into the bunker in time. The Google Terran narrowly escapes losing all those Marines. That could have been devastating, losing those Marines, and then promptly having the Zerglings dart into the worker line. And if at first you don't succeed, build more Zerglings, bro. Those can get morphed into Banelings, which can do damage, but no. Ice Cream Boy wants to tech, wants to go into the later stages of the game, wants to go to mid-game, adding on his Extractor. One Reaper by Kodansha. Looks like Kodansha wanted to get a little bit of scouting information. Ice Cream Boy now continuing to add on those larvae. Has not really spread the creep, and Kodansha, realizing that the pressure is done, going to move out and take himself his own expansion. We do see that the stim upgrade is done. Tanks have siege mode, but Kodansha is going to need to get himself a solid wall. Those Zerglings so small, so fast, can slip between every crack possible and pop out and do damage to you. Ugh, nightmares about that. Looks like there was a fight with the drones. Both of them wanted to morph an Extractor over here, but as a disciplinary procedure, Ice Cream Boy going to make that drone move over to the right. Morph an Extractor there. More drones are coming out. We see Evo Chamber also in production for Ice Cream Boy. What will he do with his fast layer tech? He's running a little bit low on options at this point. Kodansha is starting to mass up the money mix. Marine tank even has extra barracks in the wall off. And given this positioning, I would really feel like Kodansha has attacking on the docket soon. 11 drones in production, but wow! The SCV lead goes to Terran at this late in the game. We're at 11 minutes. Almost never does a Terran have more workers than a Zerg, because those drones can get produced so fast with the Queen Larva inject. A little bit of supply blocking. Oh my gosh, we're Kodansha. Ice Cream Boy, he'd have to stop this game and do 20 push-ups. But not everyone can be as hardcore as the Facebook Zerg Ice Cream Boy. Taking out the destructible rocks right now, transferring into gas. We see that the Spire is in production at the bottom left side of the base, but Kodansha is looking very scary. Getting the combat shield. And here's the push. He's starting to gather his forces together, and this is going to be very tough to defend. Actually, extremely tough to defend. A Spore Crawler going down. Looks like Ice Cream Boy just a little bit worried about any sort of Banshee play coming in the front, ruining his day a little bit more. Creep spread. We do see that the Zergling has control of the Zelnaga Watchtower. And it's going to see this army going to work its way down. Kodansha just waiting for a couple more units. There's the starport in production. We can see Kodansha has a much bigger army supply. It is almost all Zerglings for Ice Cream Boy. In the worker supply, we also see that Kodansha's still doing quite well, and the Baneling nest has only just now started the Baneling speed, and there we see a whole bunch of Banelings, 19 Banelings in production. He needs to get a lot up fast, and wow, this could be one of the big saving graces of this encounter, the fact that Kodansha took a little bit of time to take down the destructible rocks. More units in production. Medevacs coming out, missile turrets. Oh, Kodansha may have passed up a big opportunity, but keep in mind, no third base yet, only just now getting started for the Facebook Zerg. The Google Terran still is in a good commanding position after that early defense of the Baneling bust. And now the Zergling sees it. Kodansha needs to be really careful. He doesn't know how many banelings are out on the field right now. And now he's just stepping onto creep. He desperately needs to siege up. Great play there by Kodansha. Cannot move onto that creep too eagerly, or he will be easily overrun by the faster, smaller Zerg units. And the Mutalisk count down to 3 right now for Ice Cream Boy, not because he's lost any, but because he's been under so much pressure from this push from Kodansha. Kodansha now sieged up. Will he save up for a couple of scans? Looks like he just now has enough to do some big scans, which he will desperately need to pick off. Those creep tumors already spreading around the map. The third base cannot exactly get operational. In the main, we do see that the Baneling speed has just finished. The carapace for Mutalisks actually getting started. And there's the scan picking off everything, and it looks like Ice Cream Boy wants to move over and pick off some of these tanks. And look at this, Kodansha not only defends the tanks, but doesn't over eagerly stim. And oh my gosh, none of the tanks are sieged. Anytime tanks are unsieged, that is an invitation for these speed banelings to roll up and do their dirty work. Kodansha brilliantly tiptoeing forward, might be able to put a big win on the map for Google, but the Facebook Zerg has a ton of units there. Wants to harass the fringes of this army, but doesn't really have that many Mutalisks. Just has 8. 6 are here, 2 more at the rally point. Now joined by another pair, and it looks like Ice Cream Boy also trying to manage those Expos, make sure that those Mutalisks can do a little bit of damage back, but right now Kodansha doing a lot of damage. The one problem for Kodansha, he hasn't really had time to get any add-ons for these barracks. He's really wanting to keep the pressure up. We see in the main missile turrets surrounding absolutely everything. 2 engineering bays. And a drop by Kodansha. I do not like this play. He's going to make himself vulnerable. And it looks like these Mutalisks are going to be able to do a little bit of damage. But wow, Kodansha, with the speedy unload, amazingly, the Mutalisks are weak enough. Great read by Kodansha. Nearly loses a medevac, but fortunately manages to escape in time. There are the 4 siege tanks, 5 now. The stem by Kodansha, keeping those units spread out. Uh-oh, the Mutalisks do manage to isolate those dropship units. You do not want to have those units starting to get isolated and picked apart. Ice Cream Boy doing a great job of it, but there are more and more tanks rolling into the front. A second factory now by Kodansha. More barracks being added on. A command center by Kodansha. Everything going the Google Terran's way. There's the stem. Kodansha doing a lot of damage. Scanning to try to pick off units. Slowly creeping forward with the tanks. We see that creep spread slowly dissipating. Another hatch coming up by Ice Cream Boy. Ice Cream Boy holding on, not engaging, keeping all his units pulled back. In the unit counting station, we see those 19 Banelings and 53 Zerglings are out. +1 Zerg melee attack, a big upgrade. It lets those Banelings hit much harder. The expansion hasn't really gotten up and running, and look at this, a hive by Ice Cream Boy. If he defends this, he'll be able to get extremely fast Broodlords, do a big counter push for a huge win. Kodansha still has no add-ons on those structures, and it looks like here's the big moment. Now moving forward with those 2 siege tanks, unsieging the ones at the back. Needs to spread these Marines out. Oh no, they're not spread. It could be a big hit, but no, there's the stem and stutter step, and the Banelings roll in, do some great damage there. But it looks like, oh no, Kodansha is continuing to roll forward, but those Marines were a little too clustered. He lost a lot of Marines in that engagement. The Mutalisks now at the natural expansion. There's the stem, and it looks like he's going to be losing a lot of these Mutalisks. That's future pressure that the Zerg can't unleash. More Banelings getting morphed. He needs to continue to press with these Marines, pick off what he can, and use these siege tanks as backup reinforcement. But all of Kodansha's focus is on the micro right now. Uh-oh, the Baneling Zergling force is once again complete. Kodansha needs to siege. He needs to pull back the Marines. But wow, no, Kodansha using his macro, now building another bunker, and oh, Ice Cream Boy still has these 13 Banelings in the backside. There's the siege tank sieging up. Needs to push forward, but oh no, Marines clustered again, and he loses focus for 1 second, doesn't have stim, loses all the Marines. Only 8 Mutalisks remain, but 8 Mutalisks versus just tanks is pretty damn good for those Mutalisks. And it looks like this rally force from Kodansha might not have the steam it needs to hold off the Mutalisks. Another random Reaper on the field. And oh no, the Google Terran might have lost the momentum. He's trying to rally more Marines, but he's just never had the time to get these add-ons going, and the money is skyrocketing. Out of money in the main. The natural expansion needs more workers. The gold is up, but still needs a little bit more time to get that planetary fortress up. We see more Zerglings and Banelings getting produced. Ice Cream Boy gathering up a larger Mutaforce. There's the Zerglings moving up. sniping off those tanks. See ya later push. It looks like, amazingly, the Facebook Zerg is held on. The seemingly endless push from the Google Terran has come to an end. And again, one Reaper didn't really get to learn much. He did find out that he cannot jump down that cliff. That's too high, even for a Reaper. And there's the very late planetary fortress, an attempted repair on the missile turrets, but just too many Zerg units rolling in. And oh, some big baneling hits on those SCVs. And we see the Zerglings starting to amass. Wow. In the midst of all that, Ice Cream Boy was able to get his hive up, was able to get his third base up and running, and now we see it's essentially a two-base Terran, excuse me, a one-base Terran versus a two-base Zerg. We see the 2-2 upgrades getting started for the Terran player. He'll need those for a follow-up push. But his unit count is looking very small right now. Needs to begin repairing that command center. The Marine stem, oh, wasted stem. Picks off one unit and gives himself about 130 damage worth of health on those Marines from that stem. Wow, Ice Cream Boy taking himself a fourth base. And now it's going to be up to Ice Cream Boy to begin to put the pressure back. We see the Spire is now being morphed to a greater Spire. There's that +2 melee attack that makes the Zerglings so brutal to deal with. Mutalisks making their way into the main. Kodansha hasn't gotten any add-ons still, and it looks like will he begin getting reactor barracks. Looks like he's trying to rearrange some of these structures because his tanks are getting caught behind. Fortunately, those tanks do get to join into the fray. The command center now landing at the gold. Even though the army is slowly increasing for Kodansha, we see that the Zerg does have the lead in terms of absolute numbers. And of course, once this Greater Spire finishes up and some Broodlords pop in, that can be devastating. We see Mutalisks in the main now. Facebook Zerg picking off the add-ons. Any vulnerability he can. He's got to be careful, though. Any of these Marines that swing on back. No, looks like no intention of doing anything of the sort. The Google Terran is going for it. His aggression was on his mind all game long. It is still in his eyes, but he does not have that +2 upgrade. And there's the stem. Only one medevac, though. Oh no, the tank's doing more damage to the Marines than the Zerglings are. And once these Banelings morph, that's going to be a huge, scary time for the Terran player. Oh no, he's bringing his SCVs into the fight, too. Needs to be careful. There's a lot of Banelings, and the SCVs get obliterated. But Kodansha does some decent splitting, but the Mutalisk count is too high. And now suddenly down to 30 SCVs. The Google Terran, I do not know if that was a miss hotkey or whether he felt like he was committed to an all-in, but now all of a sudden there's a lone planetary fortress looking around wondering where all the SCVs went. Where are they? He's looking listlessly. Gonna look away. Too much pain. One Thor out from Kodansha. We can see based upon those wings that he does have the Collector's Edition of Starcraft 2. Ice Cream Boy controlling the Xel'Naga Watchtower. Going to advance forward. Going to see that planetary will likely retreat, but no. Looks like he retreats a little bit too late. Going to use, wow, the faster units splitting up into two different locations. He's going to run into all the rally points, but in the meantime, the Mutalisks cleaning up the limited Zergling numbers. The Google Terran at half the Facebook Zergs count, and it looks like Facebook might be able to reclaim the lead. They started the series off 1-0. It was tied 1-1 after Game 2, and now it looks like Ice Cream Boy has established himself that fourth base. There's another SCV. It sees that there's the expansion up. We haven't seen any Broodlords yet, but honestly, Ice Cream Boy doesn't even need to. The Mutalisks have taken down the third, and Kodansha struggling to gain any momentum. He is at 21 SCVs. In the income rates, we see a mere 340 for him, and uh-oh, this Thor is going to need to get some huge hits off if Kodansha wants to hope to pull back through. We see yet again more geysers being grabbed by Ice Cream Boy, so that way he can do the big Broodlord follow-up there. Finally, we see some Corruptors in production. A pair of Broodlords going down, one here, one somewhere else in a random location on the map. And now Kodansha trying to take down these destructible rocks, hoping he can take a safer backdoor third. There's a big force waiting outside the gates for him. Another Broodlord morphing, and look at the Mutalisk count. It is just gigantic, 22 Mutalisks. They have the armor upgrade. Take hardly any damage from these Marines. And now the orbital command trying to move out. It's the orbital command from the main. Kodansha sees that there's Broodlords here. Thors do hardly any damage to Broodlords. The Mutalisk in the main, uncontested. There's the stim forward. Kodansha getting a lucky break. We'll be able to pick off these Broodlords, but there's a big Zergling count. It is slowly chewing through the Marines, and when those 22 Mutalisks roll up, beautifully controlled to stay spread out, the Thors fall, and there are no more options left for the Google Terran. And there's the good game. Facebook now taking the series back to 2-1, taking the lead. All Facebook needs to do is win the next game, and they will be crowned the champion of this round. Let's find out. Let's pop into Game 4 to see if Facebook can take a win.